A room 10 into 8 by K.S. DUGGAL. This room might be 10 into 8, said Mrs. Malik, pointing to a square in the draft plan lying on the table before them. It was the third time that she had made this suggestion. It seemed it didn't register on either her husband or the architect engaged to design the house. The Maliks were going to have a house of their own in Delhi. They had purchased a plot in the most fashionable colony of the town some time ago. Now that they were posted back in Delhi, they thought they might as well have the house built. In her heart of hearts, Mrs. Malik also decided that after completion of the house, she would stay back in Delhi even if her husband was transferred to another station. She was sick of their postings. Every other year, they were moved to a new place. Now that the children were grown up, it was not desirable to shift them from school to school. Mrs. Malik said, if he must, Mr. Malik could go all alone. She would settle down permanently in Delhi with the children. She would have her mother-in-law for company. Mr. Malik had no objection to it. This room might be 10 into 8, Mrs. Malik repeated. Her husband was attending to a telephone call in the adjacent room. But this is a store, the architect explained to Mrs. Malik. Yes, but I thought it could be my mother-in-law's room, and after her it might be used as a storeroom. The architect didn't seem to understand. He looked puzzled by Mrs. Malik's observation. I mean, my mother-in-law could use the room for the present. As you know, she is old and infirm. She isn't going to be there for. And after her, it could be converted into a storeroom, Mrs. Malik explained haltingly. Mr. Malik joined them. It seems while talking on the telephone, he had also given thought to the suggestion. He too was of the opinion that the store could be a little bigger. It is always better to have a commodious storeroom so that one can move about the trunks more freely. Then it is also more convenient to keep it tidy. It was decided that the room adjacent to the kitchen should be 10 into 8. The courtyard would be a little narrower, but that didn't matter much. All the rest had already been provided for, and the plan was submitted for approval to the corporation. Mrs. Malik took an untiring interest in the construction of the house. She would be seen standing at the site with her umbrella throughout the day. She supervised every detail. At times, she would give a hand to the masons and others. She was the first to arrive at the construction site and left after everyone had gone away. She ensured that there was no wastage of material and the labor did not idle about. Before long, the house was completed. Mrs. Malik insisted that she would have a furniture made for the house. She would not let the old furniture enter the new house, not a piece of it. They were still in the midst of plans to shift when they learned that the house had been acquired by the government. Mrs. Malik was furious. But the next moment, when Mr. Malik mentioned the rent assessed, she quietened down. While supervising the construction of the house, she had cultivated love for her neighbors and made friends in the colony. She thought of various plans for doing up the house. Everything had to be forgotten. Then they were transferred from Delhi. Mrs. Malik was happy. She would no more see her house, regret not being able to live in it, and then thinking of the substantial rent, feel consoled. Transferred from one place to another, they had to wait for many more years for another term of posting in Delhi. In the meanwhile, Mrs. Malik's mother in law passed away. Their daughter had been married. In a way, they were lucky that their house had been rented to the government. Private tenants are such a headache. There is no end to their complaints and demands. And then they are more often than not irregular in the payment of rent. Mrs. Malik's house having been requisitioned by the government, the rent was credited to their bank account every month regularly. Only their son remained to be married now. Mr. Malik thought that they would rather be done with it before he retired. Their son had been married, Mr. Malik had retired from service, but their house had not yet been released by the government. Mr. and Mrs. Malik lived with their son and daughter-in-law in a rented house. Mr. Malik was still fighting with the government for the release of the house when his end came. He passed away without being able to live in his house even for a day. Now, within 3 months, the house was de-requisitioned. Mrs. Malik's daughter-in-law was keener than Mrs. Malik to shift to her own house. The moment they were restored possession of the house, she had it painted and polished and started shifting. The furniture dealer had been ordered to supply a number of pieces, which he did. They had to shift on Monday morning, but as they woke up, they found that it was raining. The downpour was rather heavy. They waited and waited. Then it was time for Mrs. Malik's son to go to the office. It was decided that they would shift in the evening. It continued to rain throughout the day. It was raining as heavily as ever in the evening also. Monday, being an auspicious day, Mrs. Malik wanted to shift if they could. Out of consideration for this for his mother, the son decided to shift even though it continued to rain heavily. They sent for a taxi in addition to their own car and made a formal move. The rest of the luggage could be shifted later. It was raining incessantly. Sitting in the back seat of the car, Mrs. Malik was lost in memories. What pains she had taken while the house was under construction, the days when she missed her meals, the days she stood in the scorching heat of the sun supervising the work in progress, the days she was drenched in rain. The architect had prepared a sketch of the house in color, the way it would look when completed. It had the figure of a lady, the house standing on the veranda with her back towards the marble pillar, elegant and graceful. An image of contentment, clad in a maroon sari, Mrs. Malik felt that the architect had painted her. But she never wore maroon colored saris. The figure in the sketch, however, was as tall as Mrs. Malik. Reclining against the pillar, she stood the way Mrs. Malik used to stand. Mrs. Malik saw the figure in the sketch and would go and stand before the dressing table many a time. She thought that she must show that sketch to her daughter-in-law some time. Her daughter-in-law was sitting on the front seat with her husband, moving the rear view glass of the car towards her. She started repainting her lips. Where was the need to paint the lips when they were going to their own house? At the most, they would eat and then go to sleep. Strange are the ways of modern girls, and how the girl talked. She was jabbering incessantly. Why must she talk with her own husband in English? Mrs. Malik had not picked up English. She had failed in this only. She had accomplished anything else in life. She learned ballroom dancing. Suddenly, it occurred to Mrs. Malik that maybe the figure painted by the architect was that of her daughter in law. How could that be? She was nowhere on the screen when the plan of the house was prepared. But then, she was wearing a maroon colored sari that the figure in the sketch had. Yes, it was maroon color. Mrs. Malik never liked maroon color. It was too loud for her taste. It was girls like her daughter-in-law who were fond of maroon color. She can wear maroon surely, said Mrs. Malik to herself. I wish she could also work as hard as I did. I had every brick of the house laid before my eyes, in sun and rain. I stood on the site supervising the construction from early in the morning till late in the night. Many a time I helped the masons with mortar and bricks. Many times I hauled the rubber pipe and sprayed water on the plastered wall. Then they reached the house. His son drove the car straight to the porch, and her daughter in law jumped out of it, and there she stood reclining against the marble pillar on the veranda, exactly the way the architect had painted the figure in the sketch. Mrs. Malik felt a wrench in her heart. Maybe the architect had mocked at her. Standing on the veranda, close to the pillar, trying to cover her elaborate hairdo with the maroon colored sari, her daughter in law was giving instructions to the servants about the luggage in the taxi following the car. The luggage had been removed from the taxi. The taxi driver drove away after having been fed. Mrs. Malik was still sitting on the back seat of their car. She had a strange sinking sensation. Then her son and daughter in law entered the house. They put on the light one by one. Every room was lit up. Mrs. Malik looked on wide eyed, still sitting in the back seat of her car. In the excitement, nobody seemed to have remembered to open the door for the way it was done. Suddenly, her son thought of his mother. He ran to the porch and opened the door of the car. A drive in the evening always makes me go to sleep, the mother spoke in a whisper. Her daughter-in-law had also come out. Everyone was laughing. Mrs. Malik's daughter-in-law was standing against the marble pillar on the veranda again. She was trying to cover her hairdo with her maroon-colored sari. I am not going to eat. I have no appetite, said Mrs. Malik. I would like to sleep. The servants had laid dinner on the table. Then you better retire to your room, said the daughter in law, pointing to room 10 into 8, and her son conducted Mrs. Malik to it. Holding her hand, she was feeling terribly drowsy. Mrs. Malik shook her head again, but what was wrong with it? Her husband had already gone. She would follow him. One day she must do it. I thought it could be my mother in law's room, and after her it might be converted into a store. These words re echoed in Mrs. Malik's ear, and then she heard her daughter in law comment, the house is otherwise very well planned. It lacks only a storeroom. I would like to have a big enough store. Mrs. Malik heard it, and she felt as if she was sinking deep and deep into a bottomless well. Thank you, dear friends.